right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's NBA pre-lock show where we have a nice 3-game slate on deck. Nothing like a random Monday with only a couple of games. Uh, I'll be honest, NFL was a little tough for me last week. Yesterday kicked my ass a good bit, but it's been a good season, so I'm not going to, flaunt on it too much. How are you doing, though, Madness? How's life treating you? 3-gamer, NFL, all the above. Happy to have you.
Doing well. Just, I'm playing a little wounded today. The voice was worn out at Lambeau yesterday, so it was a good day for us Packer fans up in Green Bay.
Yeah, see, I don't have the Panthers football. We had a bye last week, so I have no sunshine or rainbows to help me see the other side of it. But yeah, Packers did have a good win against the Bears yesterday. How do you feel about the 3-gamer, though? Do you like 3-game small slates, or how do you feel?
I don't love them, to be honest.
Yeah.
One more game would go a long way, but it gives us a chance to get really different. People are going to flock towards the same people. You can get some leverage plays pretty easy on these slates. So that is the one piece I do like.
True. Same here. I like 3-gamers, but like the cheat code for me is when we have like some interesting injury news that allows me to do whatever I want to do. That's when I really like a 3-gamer. But when we don't have that, I'm just like, yeah, it's another slate. I'll do the same thing I usually do. We'll see how it goes. You're right with the leverage. I think that's a huge difference maker. And hey, y'all, elephant in the room. We've had a really good run here lately. Last week was awesome. That will not happen every slate. I just like to make sure everyone's aware of that. We go on heaters, they cool off, but hopefully we can keep them going. So we'll start off with the first game on the slate. We have the Kings going up against the Pacers. Neither one of these teams are great. Closest spread we have on the slate, which is nice. The Kings, from an injury news standpoint, Sabonis is out. Dennis Schroeder is out. Looks like Keegan Murray is going to play, so that makes things a little bit easier from an injury news perspective, at least. I'm curious. I ended up landing in a situation where I like the Kings more than I thought I would. But what do you think?
I do too. This game, anytime the Pacers or the Kings play in a game where it should be relatively competitive, like I want to target them. So, I mean, I don't know how I feel about Russell Westbrook drawing the most ownership on the team.
Yeah.
So that's a little questionable, but I'm getting to a good chunk of the Kings. I actually have a ton of Reynaud right now. He's been starting, and he looks great out there, especially in a good matchup against the Pacers. Love the price tag. So like Reynaud, and I think Malik Monk is getting overlooked. I was all over him on, I think it was Saturday, and he struggled. I mean, 8.5 fantasy points. He only saw 17 minutes, but he dealt with foul trouble all game against the Heat, and then they ended up winning by 16. So he lost a good chunk of minutes that I think were there for him. Prior to that game, 30 minutes, 34 minutes, at least 40 DraftKings points in each of those games. I like going back to Malik Monk if people are going to be looking at that game log and kind of disappearing on him, because he's got 8x upside at that price tag. So I like Monk. I like Reynaud. I'll get to Zach LaVine. I'll probably be even with the field there. I'll be under on Westbrook. I just can't at 7,500. But yeah, that's about it. Maybe DeRozan, fine with him, but Reynaud and Monk, I like in a good chunk of lineups.
All right, I'm going to procrastinate a little bit. What's up, chat? Good to see y'all. Forgot to say hello to y'all. Deep balls. Yeah, man, that Christmas party last week was a lot. It was a lot of fun, but my voice is definitely has not recovered from it. I didn't even work today trying to rest it up, but damn, it's hurting. Not literally. My voice and my throat feels fine. It's just, we can tell your voice is tired. I'm sure you can relate because you were at the game yesterday, yes. But at least y'all came out with a win. Let's see. Steve said, I haven't won yet, but I've been close since watching you boys. Let's go. Yeah, man. Yeah, let's turn that around. Let's get some W's. But if you've been close to winning, I don't know if that's you being close to getting a first place takedown or you've been close to cashing. I feel like you're talking about a takedown. Takedowns are a whole nother story. I can never promise that will happen. But, hopefully. Yeah, man, my voice isn't back yet. Hopefully one day it will be. Do we just stack the Pacers and move on? We're almost there, but I appreciate you, JP, for keeping me on track per usual. I'm with you, man. You know what kind of slate it is when we're taking shots on the Kings. These guys are not consistent. They are not reliable, and they will burn you. With that being said, though, it's a 3-game slate, so I'm taking shots on these guys because I do think they're going under-owned because we can't trust them, which means, like you said, and like WW Wilder's saying here, it's a good leverage spot. Renaud is someone I've been going back and forth on between putting like a 50 and a 60% min on him. He's going to be a core play for me, technically and actually a leverage play for me on this slate. I just love the matchup and someone I want to be significantly over the field on. His price tag has gone up, which is why I think his ownership's a little bit lower than normal, but he's still paying off that price tag even with his recent production. I'm with you, Monk. I don't know why I called you Monk, but I'm with you. Madness. I am with you, man. I have a 20% min on Monk just because, had a bad game last time out. That doesn't scare me. I want to go right back to it. If he burns me today, we might be having a different story moving forward. But in this spot, I'll take the shot and be over the field on him. Similar story here with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. They're just not seeing enough ownership for a 3-game slate with both of them being the 6-figure or 6K range. I don't think I have to explain that these guys aren't super trustworthy. I'm going to keep the 30% min on LaVine, but I'm going to lower my min on DeMar to 20%, primarily because DeMar DeRozan just hasn't shown us a lot of upside, really much at all. Whereas
I don't think he kills you by not playing him.
Yeah. It's just like, I think it's okay. Yeah. I don't get DeMar DeRozan, but I'll keep the 20% min just to be around field weight if he does decide to do something today. And then 30% min on LaVine. And then Keegan Murray is never my favorite click, especially with him priced where he is. He just does a lot for this team, but he is a relatively low usage guy. I only have a 10% min there, and I don't even think he's showing up with that min I have too much. Let me double check that. No, he is showing up right at 10. Okay, I'll take that.
He was a little cheaper. He's playing massive minutes too.
Yeah, like if this was any other slate, it would be a hell no for me.
Right.
But here we are. And then Russell Westbrook, I feel you. He does make me nervous, but in faster paced games, I'm willing to kind of put my feelings aside and at least be a little over the field on Westbrook here with a 30% min. So let's see how it goes. Osid, we did get the Ant news before lock. He is going to play tonight. So we'll get there soon. Let's see. We've already had people talking about just stacking the Pacers and calling it a day. From an injury perspective, the Pacers are most of these guys like Ben Shepherd, he got ruled out. So like that's a small boost to some of the guys like Walker, Furphy. I mean, small, maybe like a couple extra minutes for some of like the guards, forwards like Matthews here too, but doesn't really impact things for me too much. What are your thoughts with you or with the Pacers today, man?
Getting a lot of Andrew Nembhard. I don't love him, but like the price tag just makes sense. It's a great matchup. I think you just eat the chalk with Nembhard. It's not something I want to be under on, over on. I think you just go with it. And that's going to make him show up in a lot of lineups. So I like Nembhard's fine. Siakam looks great. I mean, the matchup, Renaud, whatever. This Kings defense is not something to be scared of. So
at all.
He looks good. I do like going overweight on Mathurin. He's been very volatile, but we know the ceiling's there, and he has no problem just taking over whenever he feels like it. So he looks good. TJ McConnell, man, his minutes are all over the place. But if there's games where he's going to see his kind of max minutes, around the 20 range, it's these closer games. So I think this one sets up pretty well for him. He's not going to miss out on his fourth quarter, third quarter rotation because they're down 40. I like McConnell. The price tag is up, but he's fine, short slate. And then Jay Huff just continues to start, continues to look good. He looks good. I'm good with him. I do like a lot of center plays today, though. So having the power forward eligibility is huge there. If you want to go Isaiah Jackson and torture yourself that way, go for it. I'm not, but he's shown a ceiling. He just is very inconsistent. So Nembhard in a big way. I do like going overweight on Mathurin, and then Siakam McConnell good with being even with the field.
Yeah, I thought about Isaiah Jackson for half a second, and that might have been half a second too long. I was just like, nah, I can't do it. But honestly, he is a very viable play at 4K and a soft matchup. So you definitely can do worse. There are just other guys I want to prioritize a bit more, like a Jay Huff. And there's a 1,600 price difference between Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson, but I just like the position eligibility flexibility you get with him and the minute stability you get with Jay Huff. Isaiah Jackson, he is your typical small slate guy who doesn't see too many minutes, who can go off. Seems like he's not that different from a play as like a TJ McConnell, and TJ McConnell has more ownership. Damn it. I think I'm talking myself into playing Isaiah Jackson. I hate when that happens. But the point I was trying to get to is I do like TJ McConnell at 4,500. You were not lying even a little bit about the fact that we cannot trust his minutes. Just to make sure everyone knows, if you look at his game log, last game against Chicago, he played 13 minutes, against Denver, 16 minutes, and against Cleveland, 5 minutes. But like you said, when games are closer, that minutes floor is a little bit higher, and we see that 20 plus. We have seen multiple like 22, 24-minute performances from TJ McConnell at this point, and he has hit that like 25, 30, 35 point ceiling, which would smash this slate. And Isaiah Jackson has been a bit more hit or miss. Like his minutes consistency is even worse than TJ McConnell's. But when he sees 20 plus minutes outside of like that Detroit game on the 24th of November, he's usually seeing like 30 plus points, honestly pushing 40 points, usually in these softer matchups. If you take out games against like Washington and a few more here or there. My strategy for this slate really is to focus on the soft matchups here. So it's the first game, third game, and then just guys I feel like are going under own in that second game. And so I'm going to try and put let me see.
There he goes. He's doing it.
15% min on Isaiah Jackson, but I don't know if it's going to work just because I do already have a few other mins. So yeah, I talked myself into it. That was a long ramble, but we'll keep going. Jay Huff, like you said, Madness, his price tag has gone up. Not super excited about the 20% min I have on him. So I'm just going to match the field now and just do like a 15% min on him and a 15% min on Isaiah Jackson to balance it out. Nimbard just made the most sense to me on this slate. Sim-Model liked him a decent amount too at 6,300. So that was one of the stronger plays in this price range and just in general on this slate. So I increased my exposure to him, just put a 40% min, and he's showing up in 44% of my lineups. I wanted to make him a core play by putting a 60% minimum on him, but it kind of messed up some of the things I was trying to do later on this slate, just trying to force in more pricey guys because everyone's doing like the mid-range builds today, which I think is the optimal way of playing this slate, but I still want to try and get different by forcing in some of those pay-up options. And I have a 30% min on Mathurin. I'll be completely honest, don't love him. He's just the guy who would piss me off if I didn't have a 30% min on him. So there he goes. And then Siakam, what are your thoughts on Siakam, Madness?
I want to like him more, but
yeah,
I mean, big game last time out. He's just been so inconsistent. The 8,800 price tag is fine, but he doesn't pay that off as often as you would want. So 56 last time, great. 33 the game before that, 37 game before that. Like, it's just hard to trust.
Yeah.
But the matchup's great.
True. And he usually does have he usually does come through in some of these softer matchups. I think ultimately I am just not forcing exposure here. He's the third highest owned player. I have to kind of put my foot down somewhere on this slate, and he was just the guy I felt the least passionate about. And so because of that, he's only showing up in 10% of my lineups. So if he goes off, I hope those 10 lineups are lucky.
He is shooting a ton, so if he knocks his shots down, like he can get there. But
he's not a bad play. I feel like it's hard to say anything bad about him. He's just not popping for me right now. And then Huff was fine. I didn't feel overly passionate about him. Did you have anything else you want to say about Huff?
No, I just, yeah. The power forward eligibility is really nice. If he was center only, I don't think I'd be getting much of any. But like I said, the matchup's great. He's expect to see 25 plus minutes, and he can fill up the stat sheet. I mean, 5 blocks he has at least 3 blocks in 5 of his last 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he can do everything. He can shoot. I got no issue with him.
Yeah, and I just looked at the most recent run. We have Nimbart showing up a lot. Matherin showing up more than the men in about 43% of these lineups. McConnell, same story. J Huff, 23%, so pretty over the field there. And then Siakam, I'm about half field weight, so scary, but we'll see what happens. Then Isaiah Jackson, we touched on already. And then Garrison Matthews is showing up in 1% of lineups. Not going to overthink that one too much. All right. Next up, we have the lowest total on the slate at 224.5. Suns against the Timberwolves, 2 pretty solid defensive teams this year. No one's going to look great on paper, but I do feel like we have to play somebody from this game. For the Suns tonight, they have Devin Booker out. That's not new information. Dylan Brooks is questionable. That matters a lot more than you think it would. I think I'll have a lot more exposure to the Suns if we get that news. But outside of that, nothing really too interesting. Who's standing out for you, Madness?
This could very well kill me, but I love Mark Williams here. I think they have to play him minutes, and minutes are the big thing with Mark Williams. They can't just go small. I mean, you got Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, and Julius Randle. I think they're going to force his hand. He saw 17 minutes last time out against Houston. Houston did end up going small, which kind of forced their hand, and they got blown out. But prior to that, he's floating around 25 minutes, and he's a guy we've seen have 50-point upside. I like Mark Williams quite a bit here. Like I said, it could very well burn me. He's very volatile. His minutes are volatile. So more of a GP play than anything, but I'm going to have a lot. I mean, if you look at my core plays, you might be surprised. But love Mark Williams. Colin Gillespie, without Devin Booker, he's just been awesome. I forgot I was listening to somebody. It might have been on the Bill Simmons podcast. But addition by subtraction with Bradley Beal and Colin Gillespie here. He was on the team last year, didn't do anything. Yeah. And he's just been crushing this year. So Gillespie looks great. Price is way up, but it's warranted. No Booker, no Grayson Allen. The shots will be there. He has 3-point attempts over his last 4 games, 7, 14, 8, and 11. So he's going to shoot. Don't love the matchup, but he looks good. Dylan Brooks looks good. Oh, Grayson Allen isn't. I meant to say Jalen Green. But Gillespie in a big way, Mark Williams in a big way. And then I'll probably match the field with guys like Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen. And that's probably where I draw the line.
Yeah. DS loves Siakam. I'm rolling with it. The Domination Station is the tool that we use here at DFS Army for our optimizer. If you're interested in that, link is in the description. Use promo code MADNESS for a 10% discount on that. Man, I will never tell you to argue or fight with the DS. I do it all the time, for better or worse. But if it likes Siakam, man, force that. Love it. Just not what I'm doing. Let's see. I don't hate that approach, Shane. I'm getting 90% Siakam without forcing him. Let it ride, man. Let it ride. B-Dubs is with you. Madness. Looks like he likes Williams a little bit. You have a couple people who are joining the party. And then JP83 is talking about Gillespie. And then Osid, we have no clue if Brooks is going to play yet. That's just one we have to wait and see on. My approach as of right now is I am just letting the DS ride when it comes to the Suns tonight. I don't love the spot for absolutely anybody, but because they're on the slate, we have to consider them. If Brooks gets ruled out, I'm a bit more interested in playing Ryan Dunn. Getting some exposure to him at 4,400 would be sweet. And also guys like Jordan Goodwin, who also already has a good amount of ball handling duties, but will take on an even bigger role offensively with Dylan Brooks, which sounds crazy, but he has just been more aggressive this season. So one of those situations is kind of to wait and see for. The guy I'm forcing exposure to here is Grayson Allen. I have a 30% min on him. Almost a leverage play, but not quite, just with the definition I have here. But we do have leverage on Allen with a 30% min. Allen's been bad, man. He's been really bad since returning from that injury. And so he's lower owned for good reason, but he's also not super expensive at 6,500. He's just the guy I want to make a priority, take a shot on of this potentially being a bounce back spot. Allen's had strong games against good defenses before and Minnesota too. So just one of those shots I want to take. I think there's some positive momentum there for him. Gillespie's showing up as one of my top 5 highest owned guys. I'll be over the field on him. I didn't really want to force 60+% just because I think he's priced appropriately for the matchup. So it's just one of those situations I didn't want to force. Dylan Brooks is showing up close to field weight exposure. I like him if he plays. Again, just not a super sexy matchup or anything like that, but it's fine. And then Mark Williams is showing up in 7% of my lineups. I'll repeat the same story here of all the rest of the Suns here. Just don't love the matchup, so I'm not going to force exposure to it. I do think he's a little cheap for the upside he brings to the table, so I don't think he's a bad player to force exposure to. So I hear you and beat up on him. I'm glad I have a little bit of exposure, so I won't be completely on the outside looking in if he goes off for y'all. Next up, the other side of this game, the Timberwolves are looking pretty healthy. A little bit of a forewarning here. Ant was questionable pretty much all day until a couple minutes ago, dealing with an illness. Matchup against the Suns is not great these days. But with all that being said, I still like some of these guys. What are you doing with the Timberwolves?
Yeah, I wish Ant was out. We were talking pre-show. I wish Ant was out, man. But he's not, so we can only wish so much.
What could have been?
I still think they look somewhat decent.
Yeah.
Naz Reid has been incredible. We're used to him being a GPP guy where, he's up and down, but he's been very consistent.
True.
Guys like Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels, kind of roster fillers more than anything for me.
Yeah.
They're going to play good minutes. So be it if they land in my lineup. I'm fine with it. Rudy Gobert, I just hate playing. I never play Rudy Gobert. You land on him, fine, but not a priority. I do like Julius Randle. Like I said, if Ant was out, he'd probably be the first guy in a lot of my lineups, but more of a secondary play with Ant in there. I do like the upside on Edwards. The illness does worry me. I mean, you got to play some sort of narratives on a 3-game straight slate. Easy for me to say. But he's playing 40 minutes a game. So, I mean, at some point he's going to blow up, and he has just down games over his last 2. But prior to that one, 59, 43, 53, 49, and 66. So, I mean, the upside is there on a slate where we don't have a ton of spend-up options. I do like Ant, but not anything I'm forcing by any means. So it's really Naz Reid, and then whatever I fall on after that, I'm fine with. Nothing too crazy from the Timberwolves for me.
Yeah. And I see the questions in the chat. We'll get to those once we run through these couple games. I'm with you here. Julius Randle, let me double check. I think the Sim liked Randle a little bit. Am I wrong? Oh, yeah, I was wrong. Sim doesn't love Randle. Randle's someone I liked a little bit more if Edwards was out. Ultimately, I didn't do anything to force exposure to him. I am forcing exposure to Anthony Edwards. He's the kind of player on a small slate I always will force exposure to at low ownership. He's not like 12 or 13K like a Jokic or a Giannis. 9,500 is doable on this slate. And so I just am forcing the DS to find a way to make that happen. I put a 15% min on him. That wasn't enough. I increased his projection to 48 points. That allowed him to show up a little bit more. And so he's showing up in about 18% of my lines, 5% of an edge, a little bit of leverage over the field there. Would love to have more. I'll keep playing around with this a little bit. I think my goal range is probably 20-25%, but I'm not going to force that too much. Naz Reid is someone, like you mentioned, I'm willing to make and like force exposure to at 6,100. His role is just really good on this team. Matchup still isn't great, but at this price tag, I just like having a guy like him in my lineups. And then Jaden McDaniels is the same story, 30% min there. Rudy Gobert feels pretty easy to me. Like, I feel like when I don't get mad at Rudy because he performs in great spots. Like when he has a great matchup, he's gonna come through for you 9 times out of 10, which is something you can't say about every big. Bam Adebayo. So I don't hate Rudy Gobert,
Evan
and I don't
Mobley.
even hate if he showed up in lineups tonight. The sim model did like him a decent amount. I just don't like Rudy Gobert in tough matchups, and so I'm not going to do that. Uh, the Suns were a front court I liked to pick on a little bit earlier this season. I just didn't see too much comeback from it, so I'm not going to force exposure. We'll see the DS likes him at all, and then 30% min on Jaden McDaniels just because he makes a lot of lineups look better in my opinion. So I put a 30% min on him there with his pretty solid minutes floor. It wouldn't shock me if tonight we're really focusing on those higher floor players because I think there's going to be quite a few busts. So that's part of why I set things up that way. And then let's see, any other Timberwolves? Jaden McDaniels, 49%. Nas Reed, 43%. So we're even over the field on those men's that were set. Dante DiVincenzo still showing up in 20% of my lineups. Don't hate that. And we talked about Ant, which means as of this run, Julius Randle's a full fade. Got to have that somewhere. And then what does scare me a little bit is Rudy Gobert, because I do think the Suns aren't as good defensively from their front court perspective, but the metrics say they are improving. So I'll trust that and let the DS allow him to show up if it likes him more than I do. Next up, we have the highest game total on the slate at 237.5, 9.5 point spread. Spurs going up against the Pelicans. Spurs side of this, we do still have some news that I don't believe we've gotten answers for, but I could be wrong.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the big one here is Luke Cornett, who's pretty much the chalk of the slate, I believe, and he's questionable. How are you treating these guys in a soft matchup against the Pelicans?
It's tough. The Cornet news is annoying because we saw them start Bismack Biyombo last time. Yep. And we had Kelly Olynyk chalk, and he saw like 4 minutes. Whatever it was, he didn't play enough. He was chalk until we saw the Biyombo news. I kind of just wish Cornet plays so we don't got to deal with it.
I hope so.
I'm going to operate as if he plays. The game's at 7. So, I mean, if we get the news, hopefully it's out by 6:30. So we do have some swaps that we can make. But outside of him, Dylan Harper looks good. His minutes have been trending up. 23 minutes last time out, 22, 21, 20, 15. So it's trending the right direction. Would expect him to see about 25 minutes in this one. Yeah. 4,800 in a great matchup. I think Harper looks really good. De'Aaron Fox, he's expensive and not drawing much ownership. I like being overweight on De'Aaron Fox. The matchup is about as good as it gets, and we know the ceiling is there for him. Mm-hmm. We've seen him drop 50, 60-point games this season. Kind of like what I mentioned with Siakam and Ant. We don't have many spend ups on this slate. So I do like De'Aaron Fox quite a bit. Keldon Johnson's drawn a bunch of ownerships. I think he's a guy like Jaden McDaniels, where if you land on him, great. I mean, he just makes lineups work. And then Luke Cornett, I don't think I'm playing him as of now. I just like too many centers on this slate, and I don't think I have to take that risk. If Luke Cornett burns me in the year of 2025, Luke Cornett burns me. So that's where I'm at with him. So it's really Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. Harrison Barnes has been really good. Another guy where if I land on him, fine. Normal, like last year, if I were to land on Harrison Barnes, I'd rerun the DS and slap a max on him. But no issue with him. But Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Keldon Johnson are the highest exposures for me.
Nice. Cornett's available. Sweet. Well, that makes life a little bit easier. Undervalue consistency. Deep Ball said, what do the numbers at the top of each column mean under value consistency? Do you mean in the DS? Yeah, or no, you mean on sim model. Value consistency is your percentage of like 5xing, 6xing, 7xing value. And then the percentages here are how consistently the sim has them hitting that value exceeded rate. Fox is the better play on FanDuel. Yeah, 8,300. That's a steal. But honestly, FanDuel is usually a little bit sharper, so they might be onto something here. Castle back drops Fox's ceiling. Yeah, somewhat. I mean, Castle definitely does have a pretty high usage rate, and he does a good amount while he's out there. They're still ramping him up though, so he won't be seeing like 30 plus minutes tonight. So
That's
Fox
what I was
should
going to
still
say.
have a
Yeah.
pretty good setup there.
Yeah. He's been out for like a month, so I wouldn't expect a huge minute game from Castle.
Yeah, so I'm not like overly concerned about that. The hard part is Fox is just not a consistent player. That's honestly all that comes down to it. I don't think there's too much analysis we have to do. Some players just are inconsistent, even in great spots, and this is a really good spot for him. And like you said, I'm willing to force exposure here. So I have a 15% min. He still wasn't showing up enough for me. If y'all were watching like the screen, I'm still playing around with his projection here to get him to show up as much as I want him to. At 49, with a 49-point projection, he's showing up in 40% of my lineups. When I had a 48 projection on him, he was showing up in about like 25-ish, which is fine. I just want to be a little bit closer to like 30. So I'm going to try 48.5. A lot of y'all know I don't usually play around with projections too often. I usually just trust the DS, but on 3 gamers, I'm more open to it. It's just something I've always done. And then Castle, I'm not looking at right now. Devin Vassell, I don't feel like is a bad play. He's someone that I would like to see. He's not showing up by himself.
He's been solid. I didn't realize he's been as good as he has been.
Yeah. But even still, he's probably my least favorite Spur to force.
That's where I'm at too.
So I do think our ownership's a little bit high on him. I think he'll be a bit lower than this, so I'm not going to overthink it too much because he just didn't stand out for me too much earlier. Let me double check the sim and just make sure I'm not missing anything. Devin Vassell, yeah, it doesn't love him either. Like, he's fine, but just not going to force that. I did force Keldon Johnson exposure, kind of like the Jaden McDaniels play. I agree with you. Like, he's just not that flashy. Sees roughly 20 minutes. He's a high points per minute guy, decent usage rate while he's out there on the court. Again, I do think there's going to be quite a few busts, and like those higher floor players are slightly more important to me on this slate. So Keldon Johnson, someone I put a 30% min on there. And then Dylan Harper, I have a 25% min on. 4,800. We don't have a lot of value on this slate. He's just someone I want to be around field weight exposure on. So I put a min on him there. And then Luke Cornett, I'm fine with. I like him. I just like Reynald more. So he's someone who is showing up in about 31% of my lineups. That's the DS is doing. Hopefully he crushes and goes off for those 31% of lineups, but it's not a focal point or anything like that for me. And then that's pretty much it. Oh, yeah, I have 9% Harrison Barnes. I wish Harrison Barnes was chalkier so I could just fade him, but at his ownership where he is, I'm okay with it. And then Sohan is showing up in 1% of lineups. Last but not least, we have the Pelicans going up against the Spurs, and the Spurs are not a scary defensive team without Victor Wembanyama. We've been saying that ever since the injury. From an injury news perspective for the Pelicans, we have Herb Jones listed as questionable. Not the biggest deal, at least to me, but I'm curious to kind of see how you're thinking about things, Madness.
Yeah, I like the Pelicans. I have a small Derek Queen problem. I can't quit it.
Me too. I can't stop. I just keep doing it. And I think I've only missed on like 1 or 2 like bad games. The rest have been fine. Like, you know.
I mean, you traded an unprotected first round pick for the guy. Let him cook a little bit. Give him 35 minutes for all I care. But I do like Derek Queen tonight. His price came down. Good matchup against the Spurs without Wemby. I have no faith that Luke Cornett's going to be their front court stopper. So I do like Derek Queen. Trey Murphy looks good. Without Zion and Jordan Poole, they're going to have to run the offense through him. He's grabbing a ton of ownership right now, which is somewhat hesitant, but do like him. We got Ethan Thompson starting for the Pacers. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Nice shout by
Good
B-Dub.
call, both of you. Madness, you were on it. B-Dub mentioned in the chat. Ethan Thomas, we'll touch on it.
Yeah,
Again.
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's
But,
big.
yeah, I mean, I have to relook at that. My kid likes Ethan Thomas, apparently. Derek Queen, Trey Murphy. Sadiq Bey keeps playing a ton of minutes. So does Jeremiah Fears. Both guys look good here. I just like this matchup against the Spurs without Wemby. They're a different defense. So Derek Queen is probably my highest owned, which I don't know. Maybe I just got to go to a counseling meeting for Derek Queen. I don't know. But Trey Murphy's right there with him. They both look great. And then whenever I get a Bey and Fears, looks good to me.
Tattoo, you're crazy, man, but I love you. Hey, we're not alone, Madness. Showtime's with us too. I said it earlier. My priorities on this slate: first game, last game. In the middle, I'm a little bit more indifferent on a lot of it, besides paying up for some of the studs. Trey Murphy, I have a 45% min on. He's someone I want to make a priority. It really was for me between Siakam or Trey Murphy, and I landed on prioritizing Trey Murphy because I like the matchup a bit more here. So 45% min on Murphy. Hopefully that comes through for us. Sadiq Bey, I think he had a disappointing game last time out. Love it when that happens. Keeps their ownership relatively low. Happy to go back here, 25% min. I know all of these guys can't possibly come through for me. Single entry will be a little bit different. But for my GPPs, I want exposure to these guys. They're guys I'm going to make a priority. I have a 25% min on Derek Queen, 10% leverage over the field there. You're not alone. You're nervous the whole game until the fourth quarter comes. You're like, hey, hopefully some magic can happen once again. And it typically does. I don't think he's someone you have to have on this slate, but the Spurs, their front court's just not great defensively. Vice versa for the Pelicans. This is one where it wouldn't shock me if both sides can kind of go back to back here. So I like having exposure. And then Jeremiah Fears, I have a 25% min on. He's just the guy that's been forgotten about, but he's been more consistent lately, which is the thing we were looking for. And the thing I keep emphasizing on this slate, consistency is really what I'm shooting for here. And so he's someone I want exposure to. Jose Alvarado, I have a 5% min on because, well, what pissed me off when I play Fears, Alvarado going off helps cover my bases there from tilting too hard. And then Misi, I have a 10% min on. Let me see if I am going to keep that. I do like him a lot on this slate. I don't think I have to have 10%. I have a 5% min on Misi. 4,200, a guy who plays decent minutes for this price range. Again, soft matchup. If Derek Queen gets into foul trouble or does something stupid defensively that pisses the coach off, then you see more Misi. On a 3-game slate, I'm going to take shots on just like coach narrative stuff like that. So that's the thing that I'm doing here for the Pelicans. Let's see. I think we have a couple of comments. Let's see. I think the main one is, what's the best strategy y'all use for single entry? Madness, I always say you're the single entry goat, man. What's your strat here? You've been killing us in the leagues here lately.
I mean, really what I do is I set a DS setting of 150 lineups, put it in tournament mode, manipulate the DS a little bit with the guys I like, the guys I don't like, run it until I get the exposures I like. And then those top 4 guys are my core plays. And from there, you build it like a cash lineup. If you're getting a ton of ownership, find a guy who has a pivot with a ceiling at low ownership and plug him in. You might not love it. You might not feel comfortable, but it gives you the leverage that you need in single entry. So that's what I do. And it's worked well. So
yeah. Kyle said his gut play for the day is Trey Murphy. I see you. Osid said thoughts on Keon Ellis and Precious Achua. Did you give Precious any thought or Ellis?
No Ellis and no Precious.
Yeah, I mean, Ellis will be a hell no for me, to be honest, man. But then Precious Achua is slightly more viable. You just need some weird stuff to happen for him to actually be DFS viable, like right now, to get into some foul trouble. I mean, really, that's it. Like,
he's been in good form. He's too expensive.
Yeah, he just doesn't play a lot. So not someone I would get exposure to be honest, but I don't think that's crazy. All right, let's look at the Pacers right quick. With the Ethan Thomas starting news, yeah, his projection went way up. I can't wait to see what this run looks like. I wonder how much exposure I get to him unforced. There
He's
were a
gonna
couple.
look good.
Yeah, like he should show up a lot, which just makes lineups make a lot more sense. Let's see. Cornette was available. Is Jose Alvarado sneaky? I mean, he's low owned, so he's literally a sneaky play, but I don't think he's a great play. What do you think, Madness?
Yeah, I think he's fine. I mean, yeah, he's literally a guy that if I land on him in 20% of lineups, I'm good with it. If I get none of them, I'm good with it.
Yeah. Ethan Thomas didn't show up as much as I thought he would. He is showing up in about 3% of my lineups. And it looks like even across the industry, he's not seeing too much ownership. We have him at 13, which I think is probably right. I like him though. So
I think that's gonna come up.
I will put a 30% min on him because I do like him enough for that. Is Ethan Thompson good enough for a single entry lineup? Is the real question, Madness.
I think so. He might just end up in my core. If he plays 30 minutes against the Kings at 3,500 on a 3-game slate,
good spot.
Like he's gonna teeter on a core play for me.
Yeah. And then 2 more questions here. Nas or Mark Williams?
Give me Mark. He's a core play for me.
For me, it's Nas. Pivot off of Brooks, DeRozan, or Vassell. For me, it would be DeRozan, but I don't. Yeah, for me, it would be DeRozan.
I think those two are the same play. Yeah. DeRozan and Vassell. I mean, they are what they are at this point.
Hard to be overly excited about them. With Brooks, I feel like I just want to make sure I have. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I had exposure to him still because he's someone I am willing to prioritize a little bit to at least make sure he pops. Let's see. Just checking on Ethan Thompson again. Yeah, I think I'm with you, man. I think I might just find a way to force him into being a core play too and call it a day. But anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
I don't think so. There you go. There we go. We're on the same page. I'm just going to have to core him. His projection did bump up a little bit to 18. I think that's going to do enough to shoot him up a bit.
Nice.
And even at that, I might bump him to 20. If he's going to play 30 minutes, I just don't know how you don't play him.
Yeah, it just makes things a lot cleaner for me. Put him in there with Gillespie, Nembhard, and Renaud.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to be it, y'all. No show tomorrow because it's a 2-gamer and it starts at 6 p.m., which is when this show typically starts, so that wouldn't make sense. But we'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday, even for those smaller slates. Let's get it tonight. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out in the Discord. Peace out. Good luck. Bye.
Peace.